The late afternoon sunlight cast long shadows across the small kitchen where Elena Rodriguez stood, her fingers tracing the worn edges of her grandmother Maria's recipe book. Graduation photos lined the walls, her law school diploma hanging proudly next to faded family portraits that told a story of resilience, love, and unexpected hardship. Maria and Carlos Rodriguez had been more than grandparents. They were the anchors that kept Elena's world from drifting into the turbulent waters of loss that had consumed her when her parents died in a tragic car accident 15 years ago. At just 9 years old, Elena had found sanctuary in their warm embrace, their modest home becoming her entire universe of safety and unconditional love. The Rodriguez family wasn't wealthy by traditional standards, but they were rich in determination. Carlos had built a successful landscaping business from nothing, transforming barren lots into lush gardens across 3 counties. Maria had been his partner in every sense, managing finances, supporting clients, and raising their children with the same meticulous care she gave to her prized rose garden. Elena remembered the stories whispered during long summer evenings, how Carlos had immigrated with nothing but a weathered toolbox and an unbreakable spirit. How Maria had worked nights as a hospital cleaner while studying English, determined to create opportunities for their children. Their small business wasn't just a means of income, it was a testament to their unwavering belief in the American dream. But family dynamics were rarely simple. Elena knew about the complicated relationship with her uncle Robert, Carlos's younger brother, who had always felt overshadowed by his more successful sibling. Robert's life had been a series of failed ventures and missed opportunities, a stark contrast to Carlos's steady success. Her grandparents had never spoken ill of Robert, but Elena could read between the lines. The tension was palpable during rare family gatherings. Robert's forced smiles, the calculated comments disguised as casual conversation. Something had always felt off, like a carefully concealed wound waiting to be exposed. As a law school graduate, Elena had developed a keen eye for nuance, for the subtle manipulations that often lurked beneath seemingly innocent interactions. Her legal training had sharpened her perception, teaching her to look beyond surface appearances and recognize the complex motivations that drive human behavior. Recently, she had begun noticing subtle changes in her grandparents' financial communications. Small inconsistencies in their documents, unusual withdrawals, cryptic messages from unfamiliar legal contacts. Something was happening, and Elena's instincts, honed by years of legal studies and a lifetime of loving observation, were sending urgent warning signals. Her grandmother's health had been declining, her once sharp mind now occasionally clouded by moments of confusion. Her grandfather, fiercely protective, tried to shield her from any stress, but Elena knew vulnerability could be a dangerous thing, especially when it involved family and inheritance. As she stood in the kitchen, surrounded by memories and the faint scent of Maria's lavender sachets, Elena realized her journey was about to change. The trust and love that had defined her relationship with her grandparents would now be tested in ways she could never have imagined. Something was coming, and she would be ready. The manila envelope arrived on a Tuesday, tucked between utility bills and junk mail. Elena's hands trembled as she examined the return address, a law office she didn't recognize, postmarked from the next county over. Something about the meticulous typing sent a chill down her spine. Inside, a series of documents told a story more disturbing than she could have imagined. Preliminary power of attorney forms, partially filled out. Financial transfer authorizations with her grandfather's signature that looked subtly different from his usual careful script. Bank statements showing a gradual but consistent drain from their long-term savings accounts. And Robert's name was everywhere. She remembered the family stories, how Robert had always been the black sheep. Unsuccessful in business, perpetually in debt, constantly asking for loans that were always politely refused. But this was different. This wasn't a simple request for help. This was calculated predation. Elena's legal training kicked in. She began cross-referencing documents, using the forensic analysis skills she'd learned in her final year of law school. Each page revealed another layer of manipulation. Medical evaluation forms with suspiciously convenient diagnoses suggesting her grandparents were becoming mentally incompetent. Drafted will amendments that would dramatically shift their estate's distribution. A particularly damning document caught her eye, a psychiatric evaluation of her grandfather, purportedly showing early signs of dementia. The signature of the evaluating physician looked off. Elena recognized the telltale signs of forgery: slight irregularities in the letterhead, microscopic inconsistencies in the signature's pressure points. When she confronted her grandfather, Carlos was initially defensive. "Family is family," he mumbled, his once sharp eyes clouding with confusion. "Robert means well. He's just trying to help." But Maria's reaction was different. In a moment of surprising clarity, she gripped Elena's hand. "Something isn't right," she whispered, her voice a mixture of fear and determination. "Your uncle, he's not who he seems." The family history began to unravel like a poorly knitted sweater. Robert had always resented Carlos's success. Growing up in his brother's shadow, he'd watched the landscaping business flourish while his own ventures crumbled. Each failed business, each rejected loan application had built a reservoir of bitterness. Elena discovered bank statements showing Robert had been slowly siphoning funds. Small amounts at first, a few $100s here, 1,000 there. But the frequency and amounts were increasing. This wasn't just financial strain. This was systematic exploitation. A late-night phone call with her aunt confirmed Elena's suspicions. Robert had been manipulating her grandparents, playing on their declining health and natural family loyalty. He was positioning himself to gain control of their substantial estate, a combination of the successful landscaping business, real estate investments, and decades of careful savings. The betrayal cut deep. This wasn't just about money. This was about trust, about the sacred bond between family members. Elena realized she was the only one who could stop this. Her legal education had prepared her for moments like these, but nothing could have prepared her heart for the emotional devastation of a family turning against itself. Elena's law school mentor, Professor Mariana Reyes, was the first person she called after confirming the extent of Robert's manipulation. They met at a small cafe near the university, tucked away in a quiet corner where legal strategy could be discussed without prying ears. "Documentation is your weapon," Professor Reyes advised, her hands wrapped around a steaming coffee mug. "Every piece of evidence must be meticulously collected, authenticated, and preserved. Your uncle has been careful, but not careful enough." Elena spread out the documents she'd gathered: bank statements, forged medical evaluations, suspicious power of attorney drafts. Each page was a potential piece of a complex legal puzzle. Her training in forensic document analysis gave her an edge. She knew how to spot the microscopic inconsistencies that most people would overlook. Her first step was to obtain a comprehensive financial audit. She reached out to a forensic accountant recommended by Professor Reyes, a discreet professional with experience in elder financial abuse cases. They would need to trace every suspicious transaction, create a comprehensive timeline of Robert's manipulations. The legal strategy required surgical precision. Elena couldn't simply confront Robert or alert the entire family. One wrong move could alert him and give him time to cover his tracks or accelerate his predatory plans. She needed to build an ironclad case that would protect her grandparents' estate and expose Robert's true intentions. Late nights were spent in her small apartment, surrounded by spreadsheets, legal documents, and forensic analysis reports. She cross-referenced medical records, compared signature samples, and mapped out the intricate financial transactions. Each discovery was another piece of evidence, another layer of protection for her grandparents. Her trusted friend Alex, a fellow lawyer specializing in estate law, became her sounding board. They spent hours discussing the legal nuances, potential counter-arguments Robert might use, and the most strategic approach to protecting her grandparents' assets. The trust is going to be your best defense, Alex explained during one late-night strategy session. A carefully structured, irrevocable trust can provide multiple layers of protection. It can prevent Robert from accessing the assets, protect the estate from potential future legal challenges, and ensure your grandparents' wishes are honored. Elena knew the process would be complex. She would need to prove her grandparents' true intentions, demonstrate Robert's undue influence, and create a legal structure that was both protective and compassionate. It wasn't just about blocking Robert. It was about preserving her grandparents' legacy and dignity. Her research expanded beyond legal documents. She began collecting character witnesses, gathering statements from longtime family friends and business associates who could testify to her grandparents' mental competence and Robert's history of financial instability. Each document, each conversation, each late night of research was a step toward justice. Elena was transforming from a recent law school graduate into a strategic defender of her family's future. The predator would become the prey, and she would be the one to orchestrate the hunt. The process of moving her grandparents' $3 million estate into a strategically structured trust would require every ounce of Elena's legal expertise and strategic thinking. She chose an irrevocable discretionary trust, a legal instrument that would provide maximum protection and flexibility. Her first step was a comprehensive asset inventory. The Rodriguez estate was more complex than most would assume. There was the landscaping business, a thriving enterprise with valuable equipment, contracts, and goodwill. Real estate investments scattered across 3 counties, retirement accounts, stock portfolios, and several rental properties accumulated over decades of careful financial planning. Elena worked with a network of trusted professionals. A forensic accountant meticulously traced every financial asset. A tax specialist helped structure the trust to minimize potential tax implications. Her mentor, Professor Reyes, provided guidance on the legal intricacies of creating an airtight trust that would withstand potential legal challenges. The trust's design was deliberate and multifaceted. It included specific provisions that would protect the assets from potential creditors, prevent Robert or any other family member from accessing the funds, ensure her grandparents maintained control of their financial decisions, create a clear succession plan for the family business, establish specific distributions for medical care and personal expenses. Each document was crafted with surgical precision. Elena knew Robert would inevitably challenge the trust, so every clause was a carefully laid legal trap. She included provisions that would expose any attempts at manipulation, creating multiple layers of protection. The most challenging aspect was managing the process without alerting Robert. This required a delicate balance of discretion and strategic action. She used her grandfather's trusted longtime business attorney to begin initial conversations, carefully managing communication channels to prevent any premature disclosure. Medical evaluations became a critical component. Elena arranged for independent medical assessments that would definitively prove her grandparents' mental competence. These evaluations would serve as a shield against any future claims of undue influence or incapacity. Technology became her ally. Elena used encrypted communication channels, carefully managed digital documents, and created multiple backup systems to protect the sensitive information. She developed a secure digital vault that would preserve every piece of documentation, creating an unassailable record of the trust's creation and her grandparents' true intentions. The business assets required special attention. Elena worked closely with her grandfather to create a succession plan that would protect the landscaping business, their life's work. She arranged for a gradual transition of management, ensuring the company's continued success while protecting its core value. Financial transfers had to be executed with military-like precision. Each movement of funds was carefully documented, time-stamped, and verified. She used a combination of electronic transfers and physical documentation, creating a trail that would be impossible to dispute. By the time the trust was fully implemented, Elena had created a legal fortress. Robert would find no easy entry points, no vulnerable spaces to exploit. The $3 million estate was now protected by a complex legal structure that anticipated and neutralized potential threats. Her grandfather noticed the changes first. "You've been busy," Carlos said one evening, a knowing twinkle in his eye. Maria squeezed his hand, understanding the depth of their granddaughter's love and protection. Elena knew the real battle was yet to come, but for now she had secured the first and most critical line of defense. The first sign of Robert's discovery came on a crisp autumn morning. A registered letter arrived, its official-looking envelope practically vibrating with barely contained rage. Elena recognized the law firm's letterhead, the same one that had been involved in the earlier suspicious documents. "This is a declaration of war," Alex muttered, reading the contents alongside her. The letter was a masterpiece of legal intimidation, challenging the trust's legitimacy, questioning her grandparents' mental competence, and threatening comprehensive legal action. But Elena was prepared. Each accusation was met with meticulously prepared counter-evidence. The medical evaluations she'd commissioned stood as an impenetrable shield. Independent doctors had thoroughly assessed her grandparents, documenting their full mental clarity and understanding of their financial decisions. Robert's first move was to file a formal challenge to the trust. He claimed undue influence, alleging that Elena had manipulated her grandparents into restructuring their estate. The legal battle quickly became a complex chess match of motions, countermotions, and carefully crafted legal strategies. Family gatherings became battlegrounds of silent tension. Cousins took sides. Some believed Robert's narrative of a wronged brother, while others recognized the pattern of his previous financial manipulations. Elena found herself isolated, painted as the ambitious lawyer who had turned against her own family. The psychological toll was immense. Her grandmother began to worry, her health seemingly affected by the family conflict. "Why can't we just be peaceful?" Maria would ask, her eyes filled with a mixture of confusion and pain. Elena would hold her hand, reassuring her that everything was being done to protect their legacy. Her grandfather Carlos became her unexpected ally. Despite his typically passive nature, he began providing detailed accounts of Robert's past behaviors: loans never repaid, business opportunities sabotaged, constant requests for financial assistance. Each story was another piece of evidence in Elena's arsenal. Robert's legal team was relentless. They deposed family members, dug into Elena's professional background, and attempted to paint her as an opportunistic young lawyer seeking to control her grandparents' wealth. Social media became a battlefield, with carefully orchestrated narratives attempting to discredit her. Elena's professional reputation was at stake. Rumors began circulating in legal circles, whispers about the young lawyer fighting a public family battle. She knew each move had to be calculated, each response measured and professional. The turning point came during a marathon deposition. Elena's preparation was extraordinary. She dismantled Robert's claims piece by piece, using documented evidence, financial records, and witness testimonies. Her calm demeanor stood in stark contrast to Robert's increasing desperation. Her mentor, Professor Reyes, provided crucial support. "Remember," she told Elena, "this isn't just about winning. This is about protecting the truth. Protecting your family's dignity." The legal battle expanded beyond the trust. Robert began targeting the family's landscaping business, attempting to create financial pressure through spurious legal challenges. Elena worked tirelessly to protect the company her grandparents had built, understanding that it represented more than just a business. It was their life's work. Late nights became the norm. Strategy sessions with her legal team, encrypted communications, careful documentation of every interaction. Elena was living a dual life, the loving granddaughter and the strategic legal defender. Her personal life suffered. Relationships became difficult. The constant stress and legal battles consumed her energy. But she remained focused, understanding that her grandparents' future depended on her resilience. As the legal battle intensified, Elena realized this was about more than money. This was about justice, about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Each legal document was a shield, each strategy a sword in defense of her family's legacy. The war had just begun. The courtroom felt different on the final day of proceedings. Sunlight streamed through high windows, casting long shadows across polished wooden surfaces. Elena sat beside her grandparents, her hand gently touching her grandfather's weathered one. The judge's ruling was comprehensive and unequivocal. Robert's challenges were systematically dismantled, each claim found to be without merit, each accusation proven false. The trust Elena had meticulously constructed stood as an impenetrable fortress of legal protection. More than a legal victory, it was a restoration of family dignity. The court's decision validated everything Elena had fought for: her grandparents' right to protect their legacy, their mental competence, their fundamental human dignity. Robert was not just defeated, he was exposed. The court's findings revealed a pattern of financial manipulation that extended beyond this single incident. Professional sanctions loomed, threatening his ability to practice in certain legal and financial capacities. The family fractured in unexpected ways. Some relatives who had initially sided with Robert now sought to distance themselves. The truth, laid bare in excruciating legal detail, was impossible to ignore. Elena's meticulous documentation had done more than protect her grandparents. It had revealed a deeper family dysfunction. Her grandmother Maria seemed to find a new strength in the aftermath. The stress of the legal battle had paradoxically reinvigorated her. "We've been silent for too long," she told Elena one quiet evening. The vulnerability that Robert had tried to exploit had transformed into a quiet, determined resilience. Carlos began the process of formally transitioning the landscaping business. Instead of selling or breaking it apart, he chose to create a family foundation. The business would continue, providing opportunities for future generations, protected from individual greed. Elena's professional reputation underwent a remarkable transformation. What had begun as a potentially career-risking family battle became a landmark case in elder financial protection. Law firms sought her expertise. Universities invited her to speak about legal strategies for protecting vulnerable family members. The financial settlement included provisions that went beyond monetary compensation. Robert was legally restricted from making any future claims or contact with her grandparents. The trust Elena created became a model for protecting family assets, a blueprint for others facing similar challenges. Healing was a slow process. Family gatherings remained complicated. Some relationships were irreparably damaged, while others found unexpected paths to reconciliation. Elena learned that justice was rarely clean or simple. It was messy, complicated, deeply personal. Her own journey of understanding deepened. She realized that the battle was never just about money. It was about respect, about protecting the vulnerable, about honoring the legacy of those who had sacrificed everything to build something meaningful. The landscaping business continued to thrive. Carlos began mentoring younger employees, sharing the wisdom of decades of hard work. The family foundation became a living testament to their resilience, providing scholarships, supporting local community projects, creating opportunities where none had existed before. Elena found a new purpose in her legal practice. She began taking on cases of elder financial abuse pro bono, understanding that her fight was part of a larger battle. Each case was a chance to prevent another family from experiencing the pain they had endured. Her relationship with her grandparents deepened. The legal battle had stripped away pretenses, revealing a bond stronger than any external threat. They were no longer just grandparents and granddaughter. They were allies, survivors, defenders of their own story. As the dust settled, Elena understood that true victory wasn't about winning a legal battle. It was about preserving dignity, protecting love, and ensuring that family legacies remained intact. Inheritance of Justice. Part 7. Epilogue. 5 years had passed since the legal battle that had defined her family's narrative. Elena stood at the edge of the landscaping business her grandparents had built, watching the morning mist rise over carefully manicured gardens. The family foundation had become more than just a legal construct. It was a living memorial to resilience, providing scholarships to first-generation college students, supporting local small businesses, and creating opportunities for those who needed them most. Her grandparents had aged gracefully, their spirits unbroken by the challenges they had faced. Carlos still visited job sites, offering wisdom to younger employees. Maria continued to volunteer, her passion for community undiminished by the family conflict that had once threatened to tear them apart. Elena's legal practice had evolved. She now specialized in elder protection, her personal experience transforming into a powerful advocacy platform. Speaking engagements, published articles, and consulting work allowed her to fight systemic vulnerabilities that predators like Robert exploited. The landscaping business remained a testament to their family's resilience. What could have been a source of division became a source of unity. Each contract, each carefully tended garden was a reminder of their shared legacy. Robert remained on the periphery, his professional reputation permanently damaged. The legal and professional consequences of his actions had created a permanent distance that neither time nor reconciliation could easily bridge. As she watched the first workers arrive, Elena understood that inheritance was more than money or property. It was about values, about resilience, about the unbreakable bonds that define a family's true wealth. Her journey had been about more than protecting an estate. It had been about preserving dignity, about standing up against exploitation, about proving that love and integrity were the most powerful inheritance of all.